we begin, I'd like to thank a few people who worked tirelessly to help make this event happen. Will Markakis, sitting over there. George Avery, Jay Anderson on the sound, Mayoral on Flammo, David Riley, Sean Leonard, of course, our moderator, everyone at the Knights of Columbus, Valdewitt Council number 70, and all of our fine sponsors, which include Ralph Subnard, who is of our Wayne Alarm Systems. Ralph's always been there for us to help good civic causes in the community, and it's a great company. John Trust Beef of Lynn, located on Western Ave. Tasso has always been there for the city, helping out in all the causes, make the city better. I saw Tasso here somewhere. Tasso, thank you for your help. Tasso. I'd also like to thank Dean Clements of Clements BLT Group. He has 2 offices, one in Lynn and another one in Peavy. So check him out for all your BLT needs. Garvis Deli of Lynn. For anyone that's from Lynn, that should be no introduction. George Marcos is everywhere. He's involved in everything. And a great pillar of the community. So check out this great restaurant on Market Street here in Lynn. Bill Travasio of Mailboxes and Much More in Lynn. He was a huge help making the flyers, the posters. So check out his business on Mount Vernon Street, right in downtown Central Square, Lynn. Don't forget, I mentioned him earlier, but Lou Markakis sitting over there, who's the executive producer of BostonNorth.tv, North Shore 100. He was also a big help with the logistics and planning of the event. I wouldn't be able to put on this great event without Lou. So Lou, thank you. And then lastly, the thank you. I know there's a lot of people, but I can't also forget Salvi Migliaccio and Salvi Flores for that beautiful set that we have in front. So Salvi, Anthony, Salvi, thank you very much. And then a couple other things. Also like to acknowledge Demetrius at TV Access Television right there for filming. Self-album at WhenHappens.com. Whitney filming here in Windcamp. Thank you guys for coming. We have refreshments upstairs of water and coffee and cookies up here. But if you'd like to have other things, alcoholic beverages, you can also go downstairs after, but it has to stay downstairs. But you're all welcome to come on downstairs afterwards. And then lastly, before we take on with the debate, I'd like to acknowledge Brian up here, who has a petition in the back of the room for increasing the minimum wage and getting sick time to health workers. So they're very important causes. So if you haven't signed that petition, I highly recommend it. Anyway, now I'd like to turn it over to Sean Leonard, the editorial page editor of Daily Item, who will go over the debate rules and the format. Sean, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Mayor Kennedy, Councilor Phelan, for being here tonight. I just want to reiterate something I mentioned earlier. The daily item really did not sponsor this. My role is to come up with some questions that are fair and just designed to maybe have you both explain your positions, and I'm impartial. That's why I'm here tonight. If I go over the format, I have about 10 questions, and you'll each have 2 minutes to respond. And if you want to respond, you'll have like a minute to respond once you get upset. We'll alternate who answers each question. And Jordan Avery here will keep you the time on that. You can use your time however you'd like. If you'd like to read green eggs and ham, you certainly can. And we'll try to get rid of everybody else before the federal government closes in a few hours. So, with that, I believe, was it Councilor Phelan who won the coin toss for the opening statement? So, Councilor Phelan, you have the first opportunity to explain why the voters should elect you mayor.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you. I'd like to thank the Knights of Columbus, Sean Leonard for being the moderator, Jack Suslak, he put this together this evening, really advertised it. He's a great community activist and activist with the Lynn City Democratic Committee. And as usual, my wife Stacy, who is always standing by my side through thick or thin, better or worse, she's always there. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tim Phelan. I'm the City Council President. I'm a candidate for the mayor of the City of Lynn. I have lived in Lynn my entire life. My family has been in Lynn since the early 1800s. I went to Christ Child Nursery on Federal Street, Brickett Elementary School, Easton Junior High School, Lynn English High School. My 8 brothers and sisters all followed that same track. My father, my grandfather both graduated from Lynn English High School. I am a practicing attorney. For the past 22 years, I've been elected official in the city of Lynn. I've been involved probably 25 to 30 different community organizations, volunteer organizations, civic groups throughout the city, from coaching to crime watches to everything imaginable, because I love the city of Lynn. You know, I mentioned that my family has been in the city since the early 1800s, and it's something that I'm very proud of. I have a large family. And a large portion of my family, still resides in the city of Lynn. They raise their families here, they teach here, they go to school here, they go to church here, they play sports here. It's part of who we are and what we love is the city of Lynn. And I know, growing up, I know what it was like as a young kid to struggle with student loans. I know what it's like now to have children that you worry when they walk outside for their safety as teenagers. I know what it's like now to have college facing me, square in the face, wondering how I'm going to pay for it. I know what it's like to be knocked down. I've been knocked down recently. Okay. I've been knocked down recently. I've been kicked when I'm down. But being from Lynn, I'm a fighter. And I get back up, pull myself back up, and I'm going to articulate my vision tonight. I'm going to continue to fight for the city of Lynn, and that's what we're going to talk about, because this election is not about the past, it's about the future. Thank you.
I'm not sure I mentioned, but after my questions, there'll be time for you to ask a couple of questions to each other. Mayor Kennedy, now's your opportunity for your opening statement.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Sean, Jack Suslak, the Knights of Columbus, and all of the sponsors of tonight's debate. I'll give you a quick rundown of my life, which is going to sound pretty much like the West Lynn counterpart of Council Phelan's life, because I did grow up in West Lynn, graduated from Lynn Classical High School. From there I went to Tufts University, where I graduated magna cum laude and went to the University of Pennsylvania Law School, from where I received my JD degree. I'm still a licensed lawyer. I practiced law for about 14 years. Left my firm in Braintree to raise my children. Spent 3 years on the city, 3 terms on the school committee, 5 terms on the city council as a councilor at large before I became mayor in 2009. I think the hallmarks of my administration have been and can be summarized as follows. First of all, I've shown fiscal responsibility. We've had balanced budgets. At one point, our free cash was $16.5 million. That's up from $350,000 that was given to me when I took office. Our bond rating has increased from a Baa1 to an A with a stable outlook since I've taken office. Our tax rates have been stable, and in fact, for single-family homeowners saw a decrease in their tax bills this year. I said at the beginning that I was going to put an emphasis on public safety. I have done that. When I took office, both of the police and the fire department had 160-something sworn personnel. At this time, both of those departments have close to 190 personnel. That has resulted in a decrease in gang activity, keeping our fire stations open and our pieces in service, such as Ladder 4, which had been out of service for quite some time before I took office. And I would also think that I would be known for my fairness. I've put contracts out to bid, such as the insurance and the snow plowing. I instituted a lottery system for summer jobs, so it wasn't just given to people who happen to have a connection in City Hall. And I have made the representation on boards and committees diverse so as to reflect the population of the city of Lynn. I think I've done a good job, and I would like to continue as your mayor for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. And both of you on stage have lengthy records, public service in Lynn. This question will go to Mayor Kennedy to answer first. Mayor, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the strongest, please assign a number that best reflects the synergy with which the city's legislative and executive branches have operated over the past 4 years. And please explain your answer.
I'm going to go with an average and say 5, because there are some members of the city council to whom I would give a 10, and there are other city council members to whom I would give a 1. But I really would like to focus on the 10. It was with Councilor Dan Cahill and Councilor Brendan Crichton that we were able to craft the $4 million bond that was passed recently that is enabling us to fix up several of the playgrounds in all areas of the city. It has enabled us to fix the City Hall steps, to install new servers in City Hall, to provide protective safety glass for the cash handling offices in City Hall. That is an example of us working together. Councilors Barton and Nett have also been extremely cooperative in listening to what I would like to do, helping to enable me to get the City Council to cooperate with that. And as some people know, there have been a lot of times where there are certain members of the council who seem to want to thwart what I want to do. And as a matter of fact, one good example I can give you is on that very same bond. If any of you saw the City Council meeting that night, there were 7 or 8 amendments that were proposed for that bond. However, they were not as innocent-seeming amendments as it might appear. They were intended to send the amount of the bond over $4 million, thereby delaying all of those projects because it would have to go out to a vote of the people. I would urge all of you to take a look at that meeting. It was held on December 18th, 2012, and I'm not going to name names, but you will see in most cases the same 4 councilors voting to approve those amendments, knowing that it would delay me in implementing these changes that our parks and our city systems needed so much. Yes, that's my answer.
Thank you. Councilor Phelan? Would you like to repeat the question?
Yeah, could you?
On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the strongest, please assign a number that best reflects the synergy with which the city's legislative and executive branches have operated over the last 4 years. Please explain your answer.
I think it's a 10. I really do. I think that the communication between the City Council and the Mayor's office is a disgrace to the City of Lynn. I will talk to multiple councilors that will call to try to get an appointment in the Mayor's office, and they'll get an appointment 3 weeks out. I was at an interview with you a few days ago. You asked me in the interview, do you think the Mayor will call you on this issue? And I said, the Mayor hasn't called me in 2 years. You know, we talk about the bond issue. There was a lot of discussion about the bond issue, and there were some very good things. And what happens with the legislative body is everybody wanted to approve the bond. However, everybody had things that they wanted to have a priority. I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing to have the voters approve certain things on a bond. People don't always agree. Now, it's being presented that that's a bad thing. Well, they wanted to put it up over the $4 million so the voters could decide. I mean, to me, is there anything wrong with that? Things like asbestos removal from the fire department, firehouses, a wide range of different things. But that bond passed 11-0. Then that was a city council bond. There are so many things that, you know, when we passed a couple of ordinances that were, the first time I found out about it, people on the city council found out it was going to be vetoed. We got a letter the night before. There'd be things like the city council passed, that I was very proud of, the creation of the Lynn Disability Commission. We waited and waited and waited and waited, and it took 15 months. The Disability Commission, by state law, allows the mayor to appoint everybody on the Disability Commission. 15 months to put anybody on that Disability Commission. There's no communication. It hurts the taxpayers. It hurts the city. And it started from day one when the bloggers started and people started saying, watch out for him, watch out for this person, watch out for that person. And it fostered a atmosphere of paranoia and accumulated with the relationship that exists now.
Mayor Kennedy, would you like to respond?
I'm not even going to take a whole minute. I would just say, watch that. It's available through link here. You can get a copy of the DVD, December 18th, 2012. The reason why, of course, it's nice to have voters' input on items of substantial dollar amounts. That $4 million price was put into place in 1978. It has never been changed. Most communities have about a $20 million limit before a bond goes out to the voters. This was purely a political attempt to obstruct any of the programs that I wanted to institute. And furthermore, all of the counselors had phone calls and emails asking them what they would like to see included in the bond before it was included. So that 11th hour ploy that took place on December 18th was nothing more than that. It was an attempt to thwart me from getting more accomplishments and more things done in the city of Lynn.
Councilor Phelan, would you like to rebut? You have a minute.
Yeah. With all due respect, I don't ever recall that being the mayor's bond. That was initiated by 2 city councilors, and that was negotiated, and people in their ward councilors fighting for different things in their ward behind the scenes so that they could get things for their individual wards. There was a delay in this. There was no 11th hour anything going on, and I don't recall ever receiving a phone call, ever receiving an email, ever receiving any communication from the mayor's office. And it is a poor way to lead the city from, and it prevents us from additional accomplishment.
Thank you. Moving on, Councilor Phelan, this question will go to you first. Using now a traditional letter grade scale, A, B, C, D, or F, please grade the ease with which medium and large businesses can open or relocate to Lynn. Cite examples of what the city has done right to expand the tax base and what can be done better.
Sure. Thank you. Good things. There are some good things and bad things. Good things, Demici's Bakery, Kettle Cuisine, both the City Council passed tax incentive financing agreements as an incentive to get them to come in. Special permits for Rossetti's Bakery. But at the same time that's happening, we're losing Lynn Lumber, Johnny's Food Master Building is vacant, Blockbuster Video is vacant, Tello's is vacant, Boston Street is becoming desolate. If we want to do something, we have to do something different. I am going to propose a comprehensive economic plan. The first thing is what we're going to call Invest Lynn. It's different thinking. The city of Lynn has 200, when businesses want to come to Lynn, how do you get them here? The biggest problem they have is access to capital, access to money if you want to bring them into Lynn. How do they get money? Well, the best thing to do if you want them to come to Lynn, our $266 million budget just goes to a bank. What we should do is take that $266 million, put it out to bid to a depository. Who wants our money? Who wants to put it in a bank? Put an RFP out there to get an increased percentage on a return and a mandate in the RFP that if a Lynn business wants to invest in Lynn and take out a loan with them, that they will give them reduced rates. It will bring people and businesses to the city of Lynn. You take that, on top of that, you have to tie that into jobs. What you do is you morph the tax incremental financing agreements, so when people are actually putting money into their businesses to get a reduced tax rate, you mandate not only preferential hiring of Lynn residents, you mandate it to get those tax cuts. So what you're doing is you're giving them access to low-level loans, funds to come in the city of Lynn on available funds that we have, and you're creating jobs at the same time, because that's what we need in the city of Lynn, jobs and businesses. And it's great when everyone says we're going to try to bring new businesses in, and everybody says all these different things, but whatever we're doing now is not working.
Mayor, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I have a question. I'd give it a B, and there's a lot of different parts that go into this answer. First of all, I'd like to explain to everybody about the TIFs, because it's been thrown out there in several debates that the City Council passed the TIFs. But what's missing here is giving you a visual of what TIFs are. TIFs are like icing on the cake. The mayor and the Economic Development Office has to bake a cake before there is anything to ice. If we hadn't worked with Kettle Cuisine, if I hadn't sat down with the CEO of Kettle Cuisine and rolled out the red carpet for him, if we hadn't sat down with Demici's and made this a welcoming place, there would have been no TIFs to be given. And with the special permit that was given to Rossetti's Bakery, Rossetti's Restaurant, I'll tell you why. Did I get the letter grade yet? I said a B. Okay, all right. Because the zoning law in Lynn is so antiquated that no restaurant can open up in the downtown area without a special permit. No matter what, small restaurants, large restaurants, it's the zoning laws. It has nothing to do with the city council being progressive in the way it handles Lynn, businesses coming to Lynn. One of the businesses that Councilor Phelan failed to mention that's quite obvious is the GE property now is going to have a market basket on it. And I have explained in previous debates that the person who was awarded the right to buy that property has, although Councilor Phelan will say he sat down with him for 4.5 years, the truth of the matter is that I sat down with the GE officials from Albany, New York, to meet with them and put down the roadmap for how that land was going to be put out to a request for proposals and eventually sold. And back in September of 2012, GE did in fact produce a marketing brochure to get what eventually became Charlie Patzios in Market Basket. Just one more thing, EDIC does small business loans, and I disagree with the concept of linkage, and I'll explain that hopefully more throughout the debate.
Councilor Phelan, would you like to rebut?
Sure.
1 minute.
I think that the mayor of the city of Lynn in 4 years should attend more than one EDIC board meeting. And the first EDIC board meeting that was attended was last week when the mayor walked in with a piece of paper, unannounced, and said, "This is what I want to do with the Gannon," left it, looked it over, they tabled it, and she left. That is not what I say is leadership for business development in the city of Lynn. The Market Basket site. If you'll go and listen to the debate, what I said is Charlie Patzios had been working on that for 4.5 years. The reason that GE hadn't had that property put out to bid is because they're working on what's called an AUL, acceptable use limitation. Because there's so much chemical and environmental issues there,
Finish your point.
that they have to allow certain gases to leave. They have to check the different spots to make that marketable within the federal law. It's disingenuous to think that anybody walked in there and held $1 billion corporation and said, "Sell this property," and they said, "Okay."
Mayor Kennedy, you have 1 minute and 15 seconds to rebut if you'd like.
I don't think I'm going to need that much time. I generally don't attend the EDIC board meetings because I appoint all but one of the representatives on the EDIC board, and I meet with both the executive director of the EDIC as well as the head of the board of the EDIC on a regular basis. But I would think it is equally important for a councilor at large to have attended at least one EDIC meeting during his tenure. And in the 18 years that Tim Phelan, Councilor Phelan, has been a councilor at large, he has not attended one EDIC board meeting, and he does not have the benefit of having appointees on the board the way I do.
Moving on to the next question. This is to Mayor Kennedy first. Even though the city was ordered by the State Inspector General to put the management of Gannon Municipal Golf Course out to bid, most agree that the Gannon Building Association has done a great job maintaining the course in recent years. What can you do as mayor to ensure there is sufficient regular investment and improvements to the course at a time when the city has looked to Gannon increasingly as a revenue stream for its general fund?
Well, first of all, back when I knew that the IG had informed us that the Gannon was going to have to go out to bid, I suggested to the Gannon Building Association that they look at some of their legal options. Some of those being, there's something called procurement laws in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Certain things have to go out to bid, but there are also exemptions under Mass General Laws Chapter 30B that allows things like school photographers not to have to be put out to a bid on the contract. And I suggested to the Gannon Building Association that they perhaps lobby the legislature for a change to Section 30B to allow an exemption for something as particular as a golf course with a function facility into the exemptions on the procurement laws. I also suggested to them as an alternative that they go and ask for a home rule petition in order to be allowed to continue to operate the Gannon Golf Course. Those didn't come to fruition. Most recently, and this is the walking into the EDIC that came up, I had suggested to the board of directors in this letter and it's available if anybody wants to call my office. We'll certainly give you a copy of it. I asked the EDIC if they would be interested in taking over the land constituting the Gannon Golf Course and managing the management of the Gannon Golf Course, if that makes sense, because the EDIC is not subject to those procurement laws. And I did emphasize in that letter, I just wanted to gauge whether they would be interested in it. I told them to take their time when I walked into that meeting. I was not expecting an answer, and they said they'd discuss it at their next meeting. However, I've heard some people throwing around the term illegal, and I want to be very clear what I said in my letter. I said to the EDIC, I must emphasize that this proposal is being presented to the EDIC first in order for me to determine if such an arrangement merits additional discussion, if they're interested. If you believe that it does, I will have to seek approval from the Inspector General before pursuing the idea further. Thank you.
Councilor Bailey.
Thank you. The Inspector General has been asking the City of Lynn to put that out for 2 years, to put it out to bid for 2 years. Last golf season, they were going to close the doors at the end of the golf season, December 1, because it hadn't gone out to the bid as the Inspector General asked the beginning of the year. So no action was taken by the administration. So no action is taken. The law department just said, okay, we'll just extend it for this year. Nothing happened. Again, it just sat there. The season goes on, nothing happens, the city's in the same predicament again. So what happens, the law department tells the park commissioners that they have to put it out to bid. So there's a meeting with the park commissioners, and a lot of people from Gannon go down there. I was there, the mayor wasn't there. They debated and they argued, and they said the Inspector General wants us to put this out to bid, and they voted to put it out to bid. In that bid process, it has in the RFP a specific limitation on what the amount of a fee can be to charge somebody. So when I read in the newspaper, I'm worried that the fees are going to be too high. The park commission has set the fee and it's already in the RFP. The RFP was voted to be put out. This, with all due respect, was pandering to the people who want to keep the golf course where it is. And I like it where it is. They're doing a great job because you cannot transfer a parkland to the EDIC. The state law is very clear. If you transfer a parkland to the EDIC, you have to take other parkland and substitute it. And I don't know where we're going to find 200 acres worth of parkland in the city of Lynn. I think the EDIC should be focusing on the waterfront and developing the waterfront instead of running a golf course. Thank you.
Yeah. The reason why I approached the EDIC is because I wanted to think outside the box and not have the problems occur that had occurred several years ago when Sterling Management took over and the quality of the golf course deteriorated significantly. Furthermore, the timeline has been totally misconstrued. We worked with the Inspector General and with the Gannon Building Association and with the Law Department to extend Gannon's lease by 1 year. That was all done with the consent of the Inspector General. We have been meeting since early spring, March, we started our meetings on the RFP. That has been an ongoing process. And any suggestion that it's all coming to a head at the 11th hour is simply wrong.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question, and this will go to Councilor Phelan first. Are there any administrative positions in City Hall, positions, not personalities, that might be added or eliminated to maximize efficiency and savings in city government? And as part of that, is it time to abolish the Chief Financial Officer position, given the role of the Treasurer and Controller?
Say the question again.
Sure. Should there be any restructuring at City Hall with regards to administration, any key positions added or eliminated for efficiency? And could you also comment on whether it's time to look into revising the charter or requesting the state commission to abolish the Chief Financial Officer position?
Sure. I do think it's worthy of it's worthy of merit. The Chief Financial Officer is when that was created a he was supposed to be the technology person. Technology today is different than technology it was back in, and I may be wrong on this, 1985 when that was created and part of the bailout. I don't think that the CFO should be in charge of technology. So I think that is worthy of some type of home rule petition. I've always thought that things should be streamlined and consolidated. A couple of years ago, we consolidated the election department. A few years ago, the election department and the clerk's office. It's a lot of work, but it does seem to be running more efficiently. I think that we need to address things in the parking department as well. I think we could run more efficiently in the parking department. I think that the DPW has been a rudderless ship for the past 2 years. When the DPW commissioner left, who was appointed was an acting DPW commissioner. That acting DPW commissioner he was never a DPW full commissioner in the past, never became the full DPW commissioner. He retired. So we then hired an acting DPW commissioner. So we have an acting DPW commissioner, associate commissioner, a vacant DPW commissioner. And then at the last debate, not the school one, the one before that, I brought up the same point, and 8:30 the next morning, the acting associate commissioner was now made a full-time associate commissioner. Very nice person. Then, after being vacant again, we've hired another acting commissioner of the DPW. So we have an associate commissioner also that's there officially, but he's retired and taking time off. So since the DPW commissioner left, we've had 2 acting commissioners, an acting associate commissioner, and an associate commissioner that's been retired, and the people are complaining about it in the city of Lynn. It's not a good way to govern.
Mayor Kennedy?
Anybody who saw the woeful vote when I put Peter Karen's name up to become the CFO knows what type of resistance I faced from the city council when trying to name people to full positions. It was voted down, and it was a shame. So what did I do? I didn't end run around them, and I'm not ashamed to say that we needed a qualified person in that position, and Peter Karen most certainly is a qualified person. I did the same thing with Manny Alcantara. To refer to him as just some associate commissioner is really unfair. He had decades of experience as an associate commissioner, and he was a perfectly suitable pick for my acting commissioner. And lastly, with regard to our current DPW acting commissioner, again, for the exact same reasons, I'm not going to put them through the scrutiny of the city council and have them be sullied in front of the general public. With regard to the CFO being I think it's worthwhile to take a look at whether we need the CFO position. And I do have to say, Councilor Phelan misread the charter and misstated it here, where he said that the charter contemplates that the CFO is the IT director. That is not what the charter says. I'm an attorney, I've read the charter. The charter says the CFO can be chosen from one of 5 positions within City Hall. It's either the treasurer, the collector, the assessor, the comptroller, or the IT director. It does not say that the CFO is the IT director. We've treated it as such since 1985, but it's simply not true. I agreed with, and I was on the city council when we consolidated the election office into the clerk's office. With regard to the parking department, I already have consolidated positions in there, down from 5 positions to 4. It saved us about $25,000 a year. The one thing I would like to see in City Hall is a true IT department head. We don't have one right now. We only have 2 basically help desk people.
Councilor Phelan, 1 minute.
Thank you. I don't think the word charter came out of my mouth answering that question. But with all due respect, and I don't mean anything poor against Peter Karen. He's a nice man. But this is if you heard the mayor, I wanted to do an end around. The last time I checked, whether it's the national government or city government, there are checks and balances. There's an executive branch and there's a legislative branch. There's a reason why the city charter says the executive gets to pick and the legislative branch gets to confirm. because of checks and balances. The mayor wants to go around that, and that's what the mayor did. Even though the charter gives her the ability to do that, the CFO of this city, the position did not go out to bid. I would have put it out to bid. I would have interviewed people, brought them in to give them that position. I like him. He's a nice man. With all due respect, he does not have a college degree. That was a concern with the city council, the CFO of the city. So what we did, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but my concern was that. Did not go out for a bid, and did what I think had the complete qualifications to do the job, even though he's a bright, nice man. Thank you.
Mayor Kennedy, would you like to take a minute?
Well, yeah, I mean, just expanding a little bit more on this whole CFO thing. Since the time the job was created in 1985, the person chosen to act as CFO has always been one of those actually four aforementioned department heads. Has always been that way since 1985. One of the reasons why I decided to continue to do it that way is because the CFO position, finding a new person, sending it out to bid and finding a new person, would cost us about $150,000 in salary. That's what CFOs go for. And that's opposed to the $25,000 stipend that we give to the person in-house. So I did not want to burden the taxpayers with another $125,000 in salaries when in fact we had somebody perfectly capable of taking care of business. Peter Karen missed his bachelor's degree by 1 year. He has 30 years of experience. He is held in very high regard by the City of Salem, City of Beverly, and of course the City of Lynn, and he is completely qualified. And to deny somebody a job because of whether or not they have a college degree is simply not what's best for the City of Lynn.
Moving on, this will be answered by Mayor Kennedy first. We should learn as soon as next April whether one of two proposed resort casinos nearby, either Suffolk Downs or the Mystic River in Everett, will be approved. Do you believe a resort casino nearby would bolster Lynn's growing restaurant and art scene, or conversely, suck the life out of it? What can you do as mayor to ensure it's the former and not the latter?
I think a casino at Suffolk Downs would be fantastic for the City of Lynn. One of the side benefits of having a casino close by would be to make our land at the waterfront attractive for hotel development. Now, a lot of people have been saying, why hasn't that land at the South Harbor behind the Harbor House Hotel been developed yet? Well, you have to understand all of the working parts and all of the players in this. One of the biggest stakeholders in the Suffolk Downs property is also the gentleman who holds one of the largest parcels of land on the South Harbor. So there is no economic incentive for him to go out and develop that property without first finding out whether his land at the Suffolk Downs racetrack area is going to be allotted awarded the right to be used as a casino. So we're waiting on that right now. But if Suffolk Downs gets the casino, and I do hope they do, I think Lynn is ripe for putting a hotel right there on the Lynnway. It's going to be a 3-mile shuttle bus over to the Blue Line, or a 5-mile shuttle bus directly over to the casino. I think it would be very attractive for development. Furthermore, I have to thank the state delegation. They have been working to put a proviso into some of the legislation concerning the casino that would limit the size of a performing arts center over at the casino in order to protect our Lynn City Hall auditorium and allow us to continue to attract the quality acts and the number of acts that we've been able to do. Since 2009, we have gone from 2 to 4 ticketed events per year. Prior to 2009, we are now up to 12 to 15 ticketed events per year. We have a fully professional booking agent now, which we didn't have before I took office. We also have signed a deal this past year with Ticketmaster, which makes our reach that much larger for the auditorium. But all in all, casino thumbs up.
It's the same philosophy that the city of Lynn has always had. Let's wait and see what happens. Okay, I hope it goes there, and I hope something comes to the city of Lynn. Right now, the administration should create a Suffolk Downs Blue Ribbon Collaboration Committee. They should be working right now with Chip Tuttle of Suffolk Downs to see what we can do as a city to position ourselves, to get us. There are going to be millions of dollars of goods and services if that goes there. We should be fighting and trying to get that to go there now. And we should be in a position where once it's there, not like everybody else, hey, let's jump in. How is it going to benefit the city of Lynn? That communication and those committees should be formed now so that we're not behind the 8 ball once it does go there. We need to try to get it there now. It's archaic thinking. Hey, I hope it happens. You know, the owner of the other parcel of property down on the Linway that abuts Joe O'Donnell, who owns Suffolk Downs, has been talking to Joe O'Donnell frequently. He tells me that his phone calls to the administration in Lynn go unreturned. And he's very frustrated with that. And I get very frustrated when I hear, you know, my opponent touting the City Hall auditorium. I love the City Hall auditorium. I was on the City Council when we renovated the City Hall auditorium. I was on the City Council when the funds came in from grants to do it all over. With all due respect, the mayor wasn't even on the City Council at the time. The former administration put that place on the map. The first show was October 1 of 2006, was the Boston Pops, and it was a great, fantastic show, and it's been taken off ever since. We've been doing shows there for 8 years. 8 years. You know, and anybody in the city knows it's a good thing. Any mayor would try to continue that, and it's disingenuous to stand here and try to take credit for the creation and the improvements of Lynn City Hall Auditorium.
Yes. First of all, I never took credit for the creation of it. I just gave you a statistic. From the renovations until 2009, that City Hall auditorium was woefully underutilized. It had 2 to 4 ticketed events a year. The reason why the Boston Pops always comes up is because it was the only named show of that year. I think the Doodle Bugs was the other ticketed event that year. That one didn't go so well. However, with regard to the improvements, I don't see that the prior administration put air conditioning in there so that we can have year-round shows. As I said, the prior administration certainly didn't negotiate a deal with Ticketmaster. The prior administration did not bring in a professional bartending service. They would have nephews and uncles and daughters of people working the bar. And I thought that was a very bad concept for liability for the city of Lynn. And the prior administration did not bring in the professional booking agent. With regard to the suggestion that I've somehow lived in a vacuum and not spoken with Chip Tuttle, that is completely untrue. We have been, I'm looking at Jamie Cerulli right now, we've been to several planning meetings. We had a study done by Dr. Barry Bluestone's master's PhD class to find out how we can get Lynn to be named an affected city by the casino. That minute is very short.
Okay. We're going to move on to the next question. And,